Alright, going blind into FZ versus Steel Skitty, aka Jackie. So, we've got DOA and DOA. So, this is an interesting lead matchup because depending on if the players have spikes or not, then they may choose to go to spikes and then switch out to something like Scizor or Giratina O or Jirachi that can handle the DOA afterwards. Because spikes are long-term, and they might consider that more valuable than just bringing the opposing lead down to the sash. Because even if you just bring the opposing DOA down to the sash, you're still not guaranteed to win the Extreme Speed War to follow. They might even switch out of it afterwards, so you might not even get anything out of it. So it might be safer to just spike and let something else take the DOA. Of course, we could just see both of them, slam each other down to the sash like we did in Stone Cold versus Sky Solo, aka the Strap. So let's see what it is. There's E-Speed down to the sash. There's spikes. So now another E-Speed and so DOA. That's rare. You don't see that very often. You will generally see something like a switch. I get the stay in though. I mean, very clearly. It's because DOA does run spikes a lot, and the clearest thing to do there would be to use spikes as Jackie switched to Giratina O, or something like a Bronzong, or well, not a Bronzong. You don't see Zong on DOA teams or almost ever, but like the Jirachi or whatever that you're gonna use to buffer yourself against it. And Tina O is the most obvious candidate, of course. So to then bring DOA down to the sash and make your job a little easier as it spiked, as opposed to just giving it the free spike on the switch. That was the attempt. But FC read that really, really nicely and got the E-Speed off and is now 6-5 up, and his DOA still has a sash. So that's pretty great. So now in comes Tina O, which will limit the DOA to one thing it wants to do if it chooses to stay in. I mean, afterwards anyway, it's probably, because whether DOA attacks or gets up a spike, then it's very likely that it's going to try to switch to something like a Dialga afterwards on the sneak. So then Jackie has another choice. Do you risk the sec? I think it would be a good move to EQ, just because hitting Dialga on the switch is so valuable. And because the second layer of spikes, if the first move is spikes, is not that big a deal. So it's worth the risk. And if that second layer of spikes goes down, then that guarantees that you have evened up the score. So I think sneak on spikes and then EQ on potential second spikes or Dialga switch would be the move. Of course, FC might choose to use Psycho Boost or something to knock Giratina O into range of it. This is, if he's got something like a Dragon Claw, Rock Polish Groudon, or an SD Luke that really wants Giratina chipped heavily, then that could definitely be the move. So what is the move? So there's the Psycho. Oh, and it misses. Oh, that really sucks. That bites. There's the Dialga. Are we going to see the EQ? If it has EQ. I mean, just replace EQ with Draco Meteor if it doesn't have it. So the Dialga does not... Oh, that's interesting. Dialga does not have lefties. So Giratina O... When the Dialga does not have lefties, then you instantly think Scarf. And you don't... when Dialga shows lefties, then you really get into the mindset of, okay, it's going to set up rocks, and I can attack it as it uses rocks. So Giratina very feasibly could have switched in there. And that is, of course, very exploitable by a potential lefties Dialga sets, or just, by playing it differently, as we have seen many times in this tournament already. But when there's no lefties, then you run away. And now we see Steelix, and Steelix is something I have played against and tested and seen around, and I'm really glad to see it on the big stage here, because Excadrill has amazing typing. And what has Excadrill's typing pre-Gen 5? Steelix. So the basic idea is that it resists Draco Meteor, and it is immune to Thunder, and those are just so good when the most common Dialga set is, Rocks, Roar, or Protect, and then Draco and Thunder, or Dragon Pulse and Thunder. That's being able to resist both of those, and the whole reason why it runs both of those is because they have such great coverage. And that's why Excadrill has such great typing, and that's why Steelix has such great typing. And of course, it has a great, Stab EQ is valuable, and as it has rocks, it's a good rocker, and it can, hit hard with Gyro Ball, and it has Boom, and it has a bunch of other options like Roar and Toxic and whatever. It can do a bunch of stuff. So yeah, seeing Steelix come into a Scarf Scarf, yeah, it doesn't take Dracos perfectly, but it takes them well enough. And Ubers does not have a ton of Steel types, so whatever you can get is really nice. So taking Dracos like that, wonderful. Especially because Steelix's wonderful typing extends to its quadruple Stealth Rock resistance, which means it is not getting worn down by that, and it heals off rocks. But obviously without rocks is ideal. So now the Draco goes off, and Steelix is going to get up rocks. And in comes Groudon, which is going to get up rocks and probably chase the Steelix out, as Giratina O will come back in, and then DOA will be sacked. Or a Kyogre, same thing. Same difference, rather, except the rain is replaced, so if there's a Kingdra in the back, then it's going to be really scary. And, yeah, it looks like I would bet that if DOA doesn't get sacked here, then Latios or something is coming in, but DOA does, in fact, get sacked here. On the Hydro Pump, cool to see that. Underrated option. Because Water Spout can be so, useless sometimes with hazards and chip damage and whatnot, but Hydro always is strong. So in comes Dialga again, gonna Draco, this time with Rocks. Or Thunder, I guess. No, yeah, he just stays in. Is this going to be Specs? Yeah. Oh, no, it's T-Wave. Okay, that's cool. And it has no lefties. And it's going to use Hydro there. I'll go back for the animation. But yeah, so assume it's like Lum or... Lum is good for like mid-game T-Spikes and Darkrai, so I can dig it there. And, there's always the possibility of a Resist Berry or something. But yeah, that's why Kyogre's great. One of the reasons why Kyogre's great, obviously, because it stays in and lives everything from full health. Even Latios, Soldew, Thunder, and stuff. And T-Wave is ruinous, obviously, so yeah, that Dialga is pretty ruined now. He T-Waves and then Hydros and gets a crit, so that's pretty brutal. And not in the good way. So, yeah. I was thinking, maybe you go to Steelix and preserve Kyogre's health a little, just for the sake of, a couple more Stealth Rock switch-ins, maybe, but... So yeah, Steel's been getting the good end of luck in this one. And in comes Tina O. So now what's the switch? That Draco, and Steelix's big defense also means that it's great. It's good at taking neutral EQ. Wow. Well, that's a big return hit. So yeah, that Graciasaur boosted Draco was probably going to do more than Dialga's unboosted Draco, and then he could probably finish it off with EQ or something. So, he might not have had EQ. Who knows? But EQ-less Giratina O is really... When Ubers was the main gen, it was actually quite rare. But ever since Heatran came to the limelight, then it's just become more and more popular. So, it can be used on pretty much every set, and the coverage is kind of amazing. Hitting Dialga super effectively, not having to, use a Dragon move, like the -2 special attack of Draco or the locking of Outrage. It's a nice move. Anyway, so yeah, Draco probably didn't matter there. If it did, who knows? But yeah, so Steelix drops, and in comes Palkia. Now, who knows what kind of... shiny Palkia, underappreciated. I always enjoy a boosted Palkia, whether it's Lustrous or Specs. So it would be cool to see if that was in play here, but it's almost surely, or it doesn't even have to be either of those things if it's Scarf with Draco Meteor, because Giratina O is good at shrugging off Spatial Rends. It's got great bulk, but Draco Meteor not so much. In comes Heatran to try and shrug those off, and that is Draco, so probably Scarf Palkia. Very nice. So Kyogre being at low health and helped out by not taking that second Draco. I know T-Wave and Draco accuracy, but Hydro accuracy too. Anyway, lots of odds going on in this one. As Draco goes and Heatran gets down, or taken back up to a little over half after lefties. So Tina O being healthy is also really, really devastating. But what evens this out a little is that, well, there's only Rock, so Kyogre's still getting several switches. But what I think FC has to do is, like, Toxic is not going to do anything if the Kyogre is Lum. Roar is just going to roar in another Pokemon that threatens out Heatran. So what I think he's got to try and take some momentum back by going to Groudon or Giratina or something else that can, threaten. The last The last should probably be something that can hand. I'm assuming the last is a Lottie twin actually, because there has to be something. When you have Heatran, you need a better. If you're going all out aggressive, you can kind of skimp on playing around Kyogre, but when you have Heatran, that's not really the case. So yeah, here comes Tina O. There's the double switch to Groudon. That's good. Got to take some tempo back. And now here comes another Draco. That is Spadef. No, what's it going to be? There's Dragon Claw. So yeah, that was a good Psycho boost early on. Because if that Psycho boost hit, then that Dragon Claw is probably taking the thing down. So that was measured very well by FC, and unfortunately, the game was not kind. And the Spike would have been safer, all in all, just because it can't miss. But yeah, so now Heatran comes in. Good move there to preserve Groudon since Heatran's slow and at low health, so and it's not checking much, so it's good. Oh, actually gets it in on a Will-O-Wisp. So if this is not EQ, then he can actually probably. Well, I mean, Grisius Outrage would also slam Heatran from here, but it'd be funny for it to come back and do something annoying. But yeah, good move to preserve the Groudon and the Sun, just because I mean the last is likely like a Tina O or a Kingdra. The double Dragon Water Assault with Palkia and Kingdra is underrated. But and it's not EQ. So here comes the Palk. What's coming in? Is it? Oh, there's the Roar. There's okay, so not Kingdra, but a Swift Swimmer, Kabutops. So yeah, good call on preserving the Sun. And well, the move here from Jackie is clearly Stone Edge, because Groudon's not switching into it with Rocks and Spikes, and that'll just help Jackie win the Weather War. And it will help. And if Tina O switches in, then it's going to get ravaged, especially if the Kabutops is banned, as is very common. So the move here for FC almost definitely would be, preserve or let Heatran go, and then because it's at least in Sun, that was a great Roar. Potentially drag Tina O back in, get more lefties, rack up more damage on it, and even if Kyogre switching in would probably not be the end of the world. Because he can, especially if he's got that Latias last, that actually would be good because that's more chip damage. And at this point, with the offensive last, then the basic idea is that if Latias or Latios come in, then they are getting a KO. Because with Steelix down, there's definitely not going to be something else that can take a Draco Meteor or just a Dragon Pulse at this stage. So yeah, the Lottie can definitely bring it back. But Heatran, got more out of it than you would expect with it actually running across an EQ-less. And if there is a team that you can definitely not run EQ Tina O on, it's a Rain team. So yeah, so there's Tops staring the Heatran down. So good Roar, and good move on Jackie's end to go to the less useful Palkia. But this is still anyone's game, and that's what makes it interesting. So here comes the Tina O. Well, okay, I don't know if I love that Tina O, but it's not the worst move, because it preserves Heatran as death fodder, and as much as Banded Stone Edge is going to do, it's not going to KO. And if the Tina O is fast, then it outruns Kabutops. So it can, actually, that's a great... Actually, I really like that. No, that was really smart on FC's end. That was a great move. I totally take back that whole... That would have been giving up too easily and hoping for... I mean, having both Giratina and Latias around still, because now Giratina O gets a KO with Draco and still switches out and has Heatran to sack later, and then can do it again, potentially, with the Weather War and whatnot, and it'll do as much as possible, rather than just letting Heatran be sacked there when it didn't need to be, because Giratina O is probably, it has Shadow Sneak for Kyogre if Kyogre takes more chip, and Palkia's going to take it out anyway, and so will the other Giratina O, and at that point it's, but it could be a Shadow Sneak War, but I think that was a good move. Sack the Heatran to preserve when it's better, and so that was really nice. Really keeping, FC's keeping himself alive. There's the Draco, the other Giratina O finally goes down. Now it's coming in. It's the Palkia. Good move. Heatran can't come in because it's going to... Well, it can't come in without getting KO'd. So, nicely done. So, what FC might do here is sneak it and then go to Heatran and chase it out, just trying to get as much chip on it as possible and try to win with the combination of getting up Sun and Latias, if it is in fact Latias. So, I don't know, but sacking Heatran is also fine because Giratina is another Pokemon that can outspeed Kabutops in rain, in sun, and launch a Draco for a forced KO. And if it's a fast Giratina, as is the case because it forced out Kabutops, or at least is pretending to be one at the very least, but it probably is. And it can also probably outspeed Kyogre without needing to sneak, so that's really helpful. So preserving Giratina definitely the right move because it outspeeds Kabutops, probably outspeeds Kyogre, or has a good chance to outspeed Kyogre at least. So good move to sack that as another Draco goes off, and at this point even -2 is looking threatening because of how low Groudon and Giratina are. But if it's Shiftry, oh man, that's crazy. So it really is about the weather war here because of preserving the sun. So with Shiftry, thing is, it's not KOing Palkia without Leaf Storm, and a lot of Shiftry are physical. But if it could also be mixed, like Leaf Storm, Sucker Punch, Boom, Low Kick, which that's a good set. So if it's Leaf Storm, then something's getting, I assume something's getting dropped here. Palkia is great natural special defense, and I know Shiftry is strong, but I have to affirm this to myself because it's not going to be Solar Beam because Kyogre switches in and actually in this case then it would probably be faster, but yeah, you would definitely want to run Leaf Storm. Actually, Shiftry can really turn this thing around. So, okay, Life Orb, Leaf Storm, we'll drop this. Because look, either Palkia goes down and then, oh my god, that's actually, I think Shiftry has this one. Because look at this. It drops Palkia. Okay, let's assume that Palkia stays in. Palkia drops. If Kabutops comes in after, it just dies and does nothing. If Kyogre comes in to get up the rain, then it still dies, and it can't switch to Kabutops after because, again, -2 Leaf Storm is still ripping through everything. Even a potential Cuss Tap is not going to be activated because Kyogre gets to 30 as opposed to the required 25 after Stealth Rock. And, so if Palkia stays in here, the game is lost. And if Jackie switches to Kabutops, if Jackie switches to Kyogre, then it's the same thing. Groudon comes in after anyway. So the only reasonable thing to do is sack Kabutops here. If my logic hasn't abandoned me. Because then you have to go to... then I think you have to go back to Palkia on the -2 thing, and then I think you just sack and bring sack Giratina, and then bring Shiftry back in. So I really think Shiftry has this one. Oh, okay, never mind. It's not Leaf Storm. No, I was so excited to see Shiftry sweep. Oh no. Well, I guess it's SD, Seed Bomb, Sucker, or just full physical. Oh, that really sucks. I don't know, maybe Leaf Storm is incompatible with Explosion or Sucker Punch or something, because I swear I've seen that set before. Is that not a set, like an attacking lead? Leaf Storm... No, Leaf Storm Explosion. It must be with Sucker Punch or something. I don't know why else you wouldn't run it. And, yeah, I think I remember for when I was ready for False Swipe or something. Yeah, that sucks. But, I mean, I don't know. I would maybe take not having Sucker... can you even run... Actually, is it not Sucker? No, you can run Sucker and Explosion. It must be some combination of the two. Regardless, the fact of the matter is it did not use Leaf Storm, to my chagrin. So now, who's faster? Okay, so... Okay. Well, this is interesting. I think this comes down to if Giratina is faster than... Well, FC made the correct move by going to Groudon, because that prevents Kabutops from raining and Aqua Jetting. Well, actually, Aqua Jet might be enough anyway. Because, well, we're going to be Calc Fiends, because that's the way to do it. So, Choice Band against Giratina Origin in Sun. Okay, no, yeah, it's going to win. Okay, so I think it's going to win anyway. Yeah, and you couldn't exactly... So if it's going to win with Aqua Jet, it's going to win with Aqua Jet, and you couldn't really get around that. But yeah, so that kind of... That sucks. It was so close to Shiftry. Gotta say, I was pulling for... I'm trying to be impartial in these, but I was really pulling for the Shiftry there. Yeah, Shiftry transcends boundaries. Anyway, that was... Yeah, you couldn't go to... I guess you could go to Giratina there, but if it's just going to sneak or jet anyway, then... Yeah, I think this comes down to... Because Kyogre's faster than Groudon because I set up Rain first because ability activation. And now it comes down to if Tina O is faster too. And it is faster. It's going to Draco. Oh, it's at 7%. Oh, now this is interesting because I know Showdown rounds up, so it's probably at 6 point something. But look at this. Choice Band Aqua Jet versus no bulk Giratina in Sun is 6.8 tops. And Giratina probably has some... what's it called? Bulk. So now I don't know if Draco was the move to use against Kyogre. Oh, I guess you can't use Thunder, but you would want to use Draco against the Kabutops. So if it doesn't have like Earthquake or I don't know, if it has Earthquake, it might not even KO the Kabutops. But you could Draco and it barely lived. Oh man, what a finish. That was a crazy game. From the ridiculous hacks, it almost, early on, it really came back and just barely finished off. I'm really wondering, was there not another move that could have taken out Kyogre there? Well, not Thunder because it's a Sun team, but if EQ couldn't have gotten the job done, not outright, maybe not, but I don't know why I put Earthquake on the Kyogre instead of the Tina O. Yeah, I don't know if it had attack investment, but I guess it could have had bulk investment too. But yeah, really close finish, really close finish. So yeah, nicely done to both players, and we still have games 2 and 3. So game 2, lead matchup: T-Tar versus DOA. This is an interesting one. Do you take DOA out in one hit? And give up your rocks? This is the Stealth Rock T-Tar lead conundrum, perfectly encapsulated. Or, well, this is assuming that you're Chople or Sash, which are the only two that can stay in on DOA, because Lum obviously gets eviscerated by Superpower. So, if you are one of those, then you could also say... look, I'm just going to get up my rocks, and I'm going to then finish this thing off with Tina O, because the sand does work as it's a built-in sash breaker, so that's helpful. Anyway, yeah, that's really up to the players, and it's also up to the DOA user whether they want to Superpower or if they want to get up some spikes and then follow up against the T-Tar with something else. So here comes Tina O. Nice move and nice spike. So that was a great move from FC because this would have, if the Superpower went off, then no damage whatsoever. Could hint towards Lum T-Tar. So now DOA has lost its sash, and here comes what, a Draco? Surely not a Shadow Sneak. No, that's too. No, that was too predictable. I think. Well, now the Dialga does not have lefties. So it's threatening a Scarf Draco. It could be an offense. I mean, this is what's great about Dialga. You think you're so attuned to, lefties equals bulky rocks, no lefties equals Scarf, and that can be so easily exploited in so many ways. That's one of the many beautiful things about DPP Ubers, the almost endless potential for tweaking depending on your team and your play and all that fun stuff. But yeah, that sneak was too easy. I think you had to Draco. Simply because, it was this game. The whole, if they get up the second layer of spikes, at least take comfort in the fact that you got the KO for sure. And you can't let Dialga come in for free, so And now there's a double from Dialga into Groudon for rocks on Skarmory. And there's a Fire Blast Groudon. You don't see that. You generally see Lava Plume or Overheat. I mean, not that Fire Blast is bad or anything. And Layer Spikes goes up. And with T-Tars the Rocker, it doesn't look like rocks are going up safely anytime soon. Back comes Giratina O before rocks. There go the rocks from Groudon. Simple stuff. Now here comes DOA on the sack Draco. Giratina had no choice but to go for Draco. But it's a good move because, I mean, clearly there's not something that really wants to stay. I mean, look, Groudon does not want to stay in and take it. That's good. And there's nothing else that wants to switch in to take it. So while the start has been rough for FC, but Giratina, as always, has the potential. And there's Ray. DOA and Ray on the same team are a vicious combination. And speaking of things that, I don't know if I agree with that sack, though. I mean, Skarmory was just ready to be sacrificed there. Well, DOA and Ray are a great combination, as I was saying. But yeah, I think Skarm had to go there. And there's a Life Orb, standard Mixed Quasar, we assume. So, I mean, Mixed Quasar doesn't always run Brick Break, but sending in a slower T-Tar seems strange, unless it's a Scarf Tar lead, which not really used in Ubers. It's not like an OU. And, oh, I guess he just wanted to bluff, and it didn't take Brick Break. So, yeah, that Rayquaza was, in fact, not running Brick Break, and it just runs Outrage instead, because you want Draco, Outrage, Fire Blast, E-Speed. And, you know, Heatran doesn't switch in too well, especially with hazards. So, yeah, that Latios pivot did not work out. So these are not some of the most optimal choices. There's one of the cool things about Ray, Airlock, meaning it doesn't take sand damage. So I don't really agree with that. The Tina sack into the Latios sack. So this looks very behind. This looks too far behind. And Chomp doesn't even have Sand Veil because of Airlock. So, but he's got the Confuse. He's got the Confuse like he's gold member. And yeah, okay, so the Groudon doesn't have lefties. So another reason why it wouldn't have wanted to take the Draco, probably, you know, more offensive. So with some different play, I mean, this was very different. I mean, clearly there was not a bunch of Draco taking Pokemon on. I mean, even if, I guess he was hoping to scare out the Ray, but, like, because even if the Latios pivoting to Draco, then it's taking Life Orb, Brick Break with rocks and sand, and it might get picked off by E-Speed after, so I just don't think that was the way to do it. Just going to Latios first at least meant it wasn't taking sand damage, or extra damage on the way in. So, and clearly, Steel does not have anything else to switch into a Draco, so that was, those were not my favorite choices. So Skarm comes in, just going to get sacked, and at this point it's too far. Well, I guess T-Tar's... What's T-Tar going to do? Is it actually Scarfed? I can't imagine... I don't know why else it would be pivoted in, but no, it's not. So, I always like this style of Sand Team, but it's really not working. And now he's just hoping for Sand Veil. And it missed! There's Earthquake missing! Yeah, but Dragon Claw isn't going to KO that Giratina O, so I guess it could miss, lol, and it doesn't. So, yeah, so there's some good comeback. Like, if there's a Mewtwo last, I would appreciate that. Well, Skarm's going to roost up first, but Ray's going to melt it into a million pieces, and so is the Groudon, and so is the Dialga, so it doesn't really make... Yeah. Scarp can be great, but you gotta... It can't carry your whole team like it does in OU. It's got to be part of the ensemble, filling in the holes. It's not the whole. It's not the whole like backbone of the team. Like you can run like a good offensive team plus Skarm in OU, but not as much. And anyway, so now we see a rest Dialga last. So I appreciate the Sand quadruple Dragon Assault. I really do, but the execution really left something to be desired here. And oh, Wob, that's interesting. I'll get to that in a second. But yeah, as dangerous as... Oh, I like the fact that it's a Rest Talk Bulk Up Dialga. I do love that set. But, Smart doesn't encore into that. Oh, but he's encored into Sleep Talk anyway, so he had to go for the crit. So yeah, that was kind of a disaster. Well, he was going to get encored into Rest anyway, so that didn't matter. But yeah, yeah, so I do really like Jackie's team, though. That's DOA Ray is fun, and you really take advantage of the getting revenge killed aspect with Wob. So that is a seamless offensive team. I really like seeing that, and I'm a fan of FC's style of team here as well. But the execution was not as good, and so yeah, good. I really like Jackie's team in particular. I always love seeing Ray, and I love seeing Wob, and seeing them together on a Spikes DOA offense. It's wonderful. All comes together. Beautiful essence of DPP Ubers. Anyway, gonna pad this video's length a little more because didn't want to give away that the series ends it. Did you notice how I said games 2 and 3 earlier? I just slipped that in there. Didn't even plan it. Anyway, so the movie I'm going to be talking about in this video, to pad the length, is a Japanese movie that, oh, it's so fun. It radiates joy. It is exuberant from start to finish, and it is called Why Don't You Play in Hell? It is about a group of young filmmakers who want to make a great movie. All they want to do is they pray to the movie god to let them make the greatest movie of all time. The main guy even goes on this whole thing. He's like, oh, I don't want to be like a movie guy who just goes on and ruins his own legacy by churning out garbage. No, I'm going to make one movie and it'll be the best ever, and that's it. Like he was just going to make Citizen Kane and disappear. But yeah, and some stuff happens. I won't get into the details, but it's really fun from start to finish. You never know where it's going. And then the Yakuza get involved. The Yakuza, I believe, is the correct pronunciation. I've watched a fair share of Japanese cinema in my time. And you could just hear, or no, rather, you could feel me pushing my glasses up my nose as I said that. Anyway, so the Yakuza hire these guys to film them getting into an actual gang war with another gang. It's, and yeah, the finale is, I mean, the whole thing is pretty wild, but the finale, which is, long, it's not like the last 10 minutes or something, it just goes off the rails, and then it goes off the rails some more, even after it's gone off the rails. So, it's a hell of a time. I recommend it to anyone who enjoys enjoying themselves. And I would also suggest, if you are into, I don't know if this is still going to be in theaters at the time of this video, but my favorite movie of the year was The Green Knight. I saw it twice, and I loved it. It's meditative as hell, and it's so, you really feel that whole journey over destination thing in it, because I mean, yeah, there are themes to it, of course, and there's a clear beginning and end, but I mean, you just get lost in what happens along the way. It is wonderful. I mean, I make it sound like a road movie. It's not, but it's, I could, swept on it. It has some really dazzling camera work, and there's this one like movement that I just wanted to go on forever and ever and ever, and it's the best feeling ever. So yeah, those are my two recommendations. I hope I have. I think I've only padded it out. I'll give it another minute and a half. So I'll recommend. Since Edgar Wright's new movie Last Night in Soho is coming out soon. It's apparently inspired by Suspiria, so I checked that out a while ago, and I loved it. Honestly, it's barely even a horror movie. I don't even want to classify it. It's definitely not like Giallo, if you're familiar with the Italian horror term, for that brand of horror they had in the 80s. That was inspiration for a lot of slasher flicks in the States. But it's definitely not like that. I mean, I guess there's an element of the supernatural, but it's about this girl who goes to a dance school in Berlin, and there are witches, and honestly, who cares? It's just so gorgeous, and you get swept up in it, and it goes on forever in the best way. It's not even long. It's like an hour 40 or something. I don't know. not a lengthy film by any means, but you get swept up in it, and it seems to stretch just beautifully. You really get caught up in the atmosphere, and that's one of the best things a movie can do. So, and I will finish this off by saying that I also really, really loved The Suicide Squad from this summer. That was a lot of fun. I think a lot of superhero movies suffer from taking themselves too seriously. And yes, I have a Logan profile picture, so I realize this is really funny and ironic. But I mean, if you're gonna go serious with a superhero movie, you better go all the way, is what I mean. And I'll give the example of like the MCU stuff. I think that a lot of it is fine, but it's very rarely more than fine, or average, or mediocre most of the time, I feel. And half the reason it does this is because every time it starts building to something serious or tense or affecting, then it undermines itself. It undercuts itself by throwing in some terrible joke. And it gets old. It ruins everything. Most of the time it's not funny. And obviously not all of it. It depends. But it's not a pleasant dynamic to have. Like, Infinity War is a huge offender in this regard. It does a lot of stuff really well, and then it throws in a bunch of terrible, terrible quips, and just totally takes you out of it. So what I'm getting at is that if you're gonna, it's very difficult to really have it both ways. That it's gonna be, both, super fun and super serious. And with the Suicide Squad, then it has this irreverent, joyful exuberance to it the whole time. That's what it was like. The thing I can compare it most is to Spider-Man 2, the original, and they both have like very serious elements to them, but they're not being serious the whole time. And then but by the way, here's some zeitgeisty, ironic, self-aware quip to ruin it all. No, it's like they keep it light, but they know when to turn the dial up, and I think that's a much better dynamic to have. So yeah, I think I've stretched this out enough now. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.